This is known as an 11-inch Dahlgren cannon. It was used during the Civil War that now stands on the bluff overlooking Lake Michigan in my hometown. It was considered very sophisticated for its time because it could shoot one of these cannonballs up to 2 miles away, and those cannonballs could weigh up to 200 pounds. But today I'm going to talk to you about an even less sophisticated weapon in your morning cup of inspiration. Today's story of fearless faith, because we're in the middle of a series on fearless faith, it comes from the story of David and Goliath, and it's found in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now in the beginning of that chapter, you read that Jesse sent his youngest son David to take food to his brothers who were out on the battle lines. The children of Israel were facing the Philistines, and they had a giant named Goliath. And when David took the food to his brothers, this giant was out there just cursing the armies of the living God and defying any man to fight him. And David said, "Who is this guy? Why is nobody standing up to him?" Because all the mighty soldiers were fearful, and even David's brothers were fearful. And his oldest brother Eliab said to David that he shouldn't even be there, and why did he come out, that he was prideful. That's in verse 28. But in verse 32, David is actually talking to Saul, to the king, and he said, "Let no man's heart fail because of this giant, for thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine." And Saul said to David, "You can't go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you're but a youth, and this man is a man of war." But David said, "I don't care who he is. He's defying the armies of God, and God's going to deliver him into my hands this day." And later in that chapter, in verse 47, David says to the giant, he says, "All the assembly gathered here will know that the Lord saves, not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, he'll give you into our hands." And then verse 48 says the giant got up to go meet David, and David ran toward him. And all David had was a slingshot. So you think this was unsophisticated? He just had a slingshot and 5 stones. He only took one. He ran at that giant, let the stone fly, and the giant fell, and the children of Israel were victorious, and David was a hero. Why was David able to defeat that giant though? Well, he knew who his God was, and he had faith in his God. He was confident he would defeat that giant. He also spoke with confidence about his God, and he said that God would deliver the giant into his hand. And finally, he ran toward the battle. He ran toward the enemy confidently. So I wonder what kind of giants you're facing today. Are you facing financial giants, relationship giants, work-related problems? Whatever it is, God can help you bring the giant down. I hope that inspires you, and I'll talk to you soon for another morning cup of inspiration.